Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. So today I'm coming at you with a little bit of a podcast, and I wanted to talk a little bit about the YouTuber IAmEloho. Now, I have recently checked out some of her new content and her newer videos, and judging by what she has said and her not only her rhetoric, but judging by what she has said in these videos, it seems as if she has really awakened or seen the light to certain things as to the lack of reciprocity given to Black women in terms of the Black Lives Matter movement. And it seems like she, as well as a few other YouTubers like, Chrissy has and Paris Milan has, it seems like she also has shifted gears. And although I agree that people can grow and people can change and people can have epiphanies and people can see things for what they are, because she has been the one that I have known on YouTube to say that she is pro-Black. She was basically talking about all these race-related topics, and although I do think it's very good to see and hear that, I'm also noticing that sometimes she has had her flaws as well. And what I'm really talking about is her video or her videos about Tory Lanez and that fake colorism defense scandal. So if you don't know about that, it's alleged, because I have to say that for YouTube, alleged that Tory Lanez faked a colorism defense for publicity. So what he did was he claimed that he wanted to exchange a lighter skinned girl for a darker skinned woman in his music video, and he said that he made this bold statement on Instagram, on his Instagram page, and I did see the post and I did see the video on that page where he claimed that he was trying to take a stance against colorism and how artists and Black male rappers and artists should, fight against colorism and uplift Black and dark skinned women. And IAmEloho made a video basically praising him for that. And later it came out, especially from that model, that no, that was not the case. That didn't happen. And even the lighter skinned model that he claimed to have exchanged her for the darker skin model for, she said that also wasn't true. So she basically has sided with the darker skin model, and basically he's saying that basically the models were saying that Tory Lanez, it was not really checking for the darker skin model, and that the darker skin model said that that video that he posted actually was something done 3 months prior. So this was basically used as mainly a colorism or mainly a publicity stunt to look like they stood against basically performative activism, if you ask me. And honestly, it kind of looks like, and I know this may seem like comparing apples to oranges, but it kind of looks like this was a case of like when non-Black or specifically white-owned big corporations that also have track records for not always being, the best in terms of supporting, fighting for, or just basically being very disrespectful to people of marginalized groups, mainly Black people. And yet and still they want to come out with performative activism like we're seeing now with all these brands and influencers who don't have the best track record, also now using Black Lives Matter and protesting and saying they stand against racism, but they don't have the best track records. But this is the case with Tory Lanez. And honestly, side note, what I see with Tory Lanez, to be honest, I really see him as maybe it's short man syndrome, but I've heard from Leah Gardone that he's very corny. And it's like, yeah, because he's always caught up in scandal, and a lot of it tends to be looking for attention. And I feel like he does the most for attention. And honestly, it's just sad. It's just, honestly, this man is very toxic to this community, but that's beside the point. Now with IAmEloho, she came and she doubled down on that whole situation by saying, well, unpopular opinion, she agrees with Tory Lanez because, the message, the quote unquote message of colorism needs to be, said. So she has no problem when it was staged. Oh, they are on set. They are, acting like, come on, girl. All I really saw in that caping for Tory Lanez video and that doubling down on Tory Lanez, and I also made a video about that, all I really saw in that video was, girl, you're just embarrassed. You're embarrassed that you cape for him. You are embarrassed that, you double down, because she was the only black female YouTuber, or specifically dark black female YouTuber, that actually came in support of him when she thought, or when we all thought, that he was doing something good. And it wasn't just her, because if you see, there were celebrities and people with the blue check marks under his Instagram caping for him and saying, you know what, we thank you for posting this, Tory Lanez, finally, because we're so not used to seeing, especially black male rappers, or at least popular black male rappers or artists, talk about colorism. And now Wale and a few others maybe, but in terms on his level, we don't often see that. So to us, it's very refreshing. But I never liked the video. I never commented under the video. I saw it, I thought it was cool, I left. And I feel like that's the reason I didn't like it, because I felt like something was up. And I feel like the only reason IAmEloho doubled down was, again, because she was embarrassed. And to be honest, I just really wish that she would, now that she has quote unquote seen the light, and now that she is learning and unlearning certain things, I just wish she would kind of come back and just say, hey, there was a time where I was so pro black male identified. Like that video where she doubled down in K for Tory Lanez, to me, that just goes to show how black male identified some black women still really are. And we think it's basically we're just being pro-black, but really we're also just being pro-black man to a fault. Like even Lennon Honor said, like, you have black women, especially in the Gen X crowd, that are so supportive and loyal to black men to a fault. And we're starting to see that. Now, granted, we are unlearning that to a certain extent, especially the younger generation. Okay, we are unlearning that to a certain extent. But it's like, even when the signs are clearly pointed to IAmEloho that this was fake, she wants to make it about all these other things in that video. And granted, it is her page. She does have the right to her own opinion, even if it's an unpopular one. Yes, I get it. But to be honest, and by the comments that she got in her video, I believe that this was definitely a disservice to dark-skinned black women. And what's funny, this is how black male identified I think IAmEloho really was. And it's because she got mad at that model for not wanting to do an interview with her, calling herself a pro-black page at the time. She got mad that the model didn't want to do an interview with her, but you stayed caping for Tory Lanez. Like, make that make sense. So to be honest, I just feel like this is a case of how black male identified black women are. It's not really pro-blackness, it's black male identified. We're just black male identified. And look, this is not to bash black men. This is a whole separate thing. This is focused on IAmEloho. But in this case, it's kind of what Kendall St. Charles was talking about in this live video she did with Crystal and Kerrison on the Pink Pill, where she said that, hey, it will be black women, the same black women, or the so-called pro-black, woke black feminist, black male identified black women that would have cussed her out 10 years ago. Her and Crystal and Kerrison, out for some of their rhetoric 10 years ago, are using their exact same talking points, and some of them won't give them credit, or they won't own up and say that they were wrong. And like I said, I'll just go back to it. IAmEloho, like some other people on YouTube who won't admit when they're wrong, when they were so pro-black to a fault and now they see the light, they won't go back and admit that they were wrong, just like she did with that with that Tory Lanez video. And it's because they're just simply embarrassed. Maybe there's a fear of losing subscribers, because even Chrissy, who has shifted gears and seen the light on certain things, she said she lost subscribers behind that. And I understand that fear, because shifting gears can definitely lose you something, but it can also gain you something. But still, that's beside the point again. And yes, IAmEloho, it is her page. She has a right to her own opinion. But I feel like for a person who claims to be so about, colorism, who has probably talked about colorism and addressed colorism within the black community, to kind of cape for a colorist because you're simply embarrassed that you did and it was fake. And then you're kind of making all these, very intellectually dishonest, intelligence insulting excuses or reasons to why the message was more important and you're okay with the whole thing being staged. Like I said in that video, had it been a white company, a white corporation, or a white person kind of trying to play quote unquote white savior and say, hey, I'm going to take a stand against racism, you'd be looking at that with a side eye, and you also say you don't buy it, especially even if you were to cape for them in terms of, congratulating them in the beginning, then to find out it was staged. And then I guarantee you wouldn't be standing for it. You would be coming out with a whole nother video talking about how, this is performative activism and all that. So why is it the case with Tory Lanez? The real reason, you're Black male identified. And this is not to insult, this is not to bash, this is just to me saying that, hey, now that you've seen certain things for what it is, it's best you can come back and, admit that, hey, you were Black male identified at one point, to the point where even though you were talking all this pro-Black, anti-colorism, fight against colorism stuff, you even have your flaws. And my thing is, I just really wish you would just own up and admit to that, and not kind of hide behind all these other things like it's the message and the importance of colorism, and basically almost blaming the Black women who came out against Tory Lanez for the fake colorism, defense stunt, and took the side of the model, instead of it's like you were almost blaming them for saying that, oh, well, the message is in shambles now because, the message was important. That is just very insulting. Like, come on, Eloho. I just wish you would just own up. And I said this before. We're not the only ones who do this, but I'm going to focus on us right now. It seems like when it comes to us, especially the men in our community, we rather double down, deflect, say it was a joke. We'd rather, make it about all these other things than admit we're wrong when we're embarrassed, And I feel like the problem is we're so used to kind of losing out to certain things. We're so used to being told we're wrong and being discredited that even when we actually are wrong, we're not going to admit that, because it's bad enough people already discredit us without proof. But, so we'll just double down even when we're wrong. And that's also something holding us back, just admit you were wrong. I mean, that's really all I want you to do at this point, Eloho. And of course, again, it's your page, your opinions, you have the right to that. But come on, it's like, you just did a complete disservice. Well, not a complete, but you definitely did a disservice to darker skinned women, because you got more upset at the model for not doing an interview with you than you are at Tory Lanez for faking this whole thing, or allegedly faking this whole thing. And you practically said you were okay with it. So yeah, that's honestly my thing. That's honestly all I have to say, really. And trust me, this is not to start any drama or YouTube beef. This is just me saying, hey, for some of you people like the Paris Milans and IAmElohos of the world who were on YouTube talking one way and are now shifting gears into another way, I just feel like it's also best to look at your transition and to kind of own up to some of the things you were wrong. And I'm not trying to speak like I'm holier than thou, because there were certain things that, who knows, maybe I have said that I will have to eventually own up to later. But anyway, that's all I had to say. Thank you so much for tuning in. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Leave your opinions down in the comment section, and I will see you and hopefully in the next video.